How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Baku, Hill vs. Rountree Jr. on June 21st, 2025. Timestamps in the comments below. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 12. We start with Hamdy Abdelwahab versus Mohammed Usman. I'm going to pick Mohammed Usman. I'm picking Mohammed, but I'm not picking Kamaru. It's fucking... Both Hamdy and Mohammed they're pretty mid when it comes to actual technique and everything. They're both not really good at fighting at all. But I think when it comes down to it, Hamdy Abdelwahab they're both in really close fights, the both of them. I think Mohammed's 2 losses in the UFC in his last 2 fights aren't as bad as, they may seem, The Thomas Peterson loss is kind of aging like shit. Actually, no, Thomas just won, and yeah, he beat Dontel Mays, so that's actually not even that bad. And then Mick Parkin, had a really close fight with Marcin Tybura, and I thought Mohammed Usman actually had a decent argument to win that fight against Mick Parkin. Hamdy Abdelwahab, at the end of the day, has absolutely no technique when it comes to striking. All he is big punches. That's it. He gets out-volumed every single time, and that's really all Mohammed Usman is volume at the end of the day. Ever since the, the knockout over Zach Payonga. After that, he doesn't really have any power. He hurt Mick in the first round, but besides that, he doesn't really have a lot of power. It looks like he does. He's a really big refrigerator of a guy. He doesn't really hit all that hard. And in the grappling sense, I think Mohammed Usman, even though Hamdy has decent wrestling, and maybe that could come into play later down the... he has not great cardio. His cardio isn't that great, so I don't know if he'll be able to out-wrestle Mohammed down the field, but... I think Mohammed Usman maybe be able to take advantage of the clinch scenarios in this fight. He's a lot bigger than Hamdy Abdelwahab, I imagine, muscle-wise as well. Hamdy's just kind of fat. He's like 260. Muhammad's actually going to be a lot less dense than Hamdy, but he's got a lot of strength on him. A lot of his weight comes from muscle. So I'll go Mohammed Usman. I think that in the boxing exchanges, Hamdy's going to be swinging at ghosts. That's something Jamal Pogue was able to do very well. Keep him at bay with that jab. Mohammed Usman, brother of Kamaru, I imagine that's probably his best weapon as well. I hope Muhammad worked on his footwork. His footwork has been pretty dog shit. In his last 2 outings, he literally leaves the ground when throwing things. So hopefully he's been working on that. I think Muhammad has had more opportunity to grow than Hamdy has. I'll say that. So I'll go Mohammed Usman via improving, having better stand-up, and maybe being able to take care of the clinch exchanges a bit more with his strength. So yeah. We move to Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azat Maksum. I'm going to go with Tagir Ulanbekov, probably by later round finish, maybe a submission. It's been so long since we've seen Azat Maksum even fight. When was the last time that he fought? It was February 3rd. Was that was Dolidze Imavov when he fought Charles Johnson. And that was he had, of course, a very dynamic first round, dropping Charles Johnson, but even then, Charles actually fought his way back into the round at the end. And then it went on to win rounds 2 and 3 because Azat really slowed down, and Charles Johnson has that sprinter pace where he kind of just runs over people in those later rounds. Azat really hasn't impressed me a lot. He had a couple really good exchanges with Tyson Nam in their first fight where, he's landing really good straight shots. That's really all Azat and Tagir Ulanbekov have to offer on the feet is the straight down the middle shots with their jabs and straights, and then their teeps to the body front kicks. Azat will sometimes go airborne with a flying knee. Tagir really likes a good low kick here and there. It's something he did very well against Clayton Carpenter. But when I'm analyzing this fight, I really just think when you take in the fact that it's short notice as hell for Azat Maksum, I think it's about 2 weeks short notice for him. And Tagir was training for Kyoji Horiguchi, who, is still fighting. He's a really high-level flyweight. And Azat Maksum is crumbling. The Tyson Nam fight was really close. He was getting battered in certain exchanges. And you think about it, like, Azat's main thing is exchanging into the grappling. Tagir will kind of grapple first, kind of get a body lock and lift people up. I think Tagir Ulanbekov is just a far superior grappler than Azat Maksum. I don't think it's crazy to say that. He trains at Team Khabib. He's with all those Dagestani guys. Azat, he's on the other side of the cliff with Azat Maksum and shit, with Shavkat. Actually, Shavkat doesn't even train in Kazakhstan, does he? He trains in America. Maybe Azat does as well. Let me actually... What team does Azat Maksum train with? It doesn't even say. It doesn't say what his gym is. So, I think Tagir has better cardio than Azat. I think that's really going to be the key at the end of the day. Tagir Ulanbekov, while slower than Azat, I think that he's a little bit slower. That's been Tagir's kind of main weakness, is his speed on the feet, being able to get outdone in certain exchanges. But Tagir still hits pretty hard, has insane grappling. I don't even think Azat Maksum is really on that Cody Durden level of expertise in fighting. So I'll go Tagir Ulanbekov by late round finish. Azat, the first round will be a little bit of exchanging. Maybe Tagir gets a body lock, holds him down for a little bit, holds him against the cage. As the fight goes on, Azat's striking will slow down. Tagir will be able to pick up the pace a little bit on the feet. Azat will kind of get a little desperate, kind of do some stupid things. Tagir will capitalize on it, find a rear naked choke down the line. I'll go Tagir Ulanbekov. We move to Irina Alekseeva versus Klaudia Segula. I'm going to go with Irina Alekseeva. Just look at the difference in who wants it more. Irina Alekseeva, like, can I even say that? She doesn't even really... They're both not good at fighting. But Irina, she's got that look to her. Alright? She's like, this is all she has. And dude, I don't know why she cut her hair short. But you want a female marauder, you got one. Irina Alekseeva literally just walks people down and just hands by her waist, just... And I'm looking at tape, and I'm like, there is no technique to any of this, but it sucks. And Klaudia Segula, I don't know if it's just the way she looks. I don't know if it's just tape study. I don't think she likes being on the back foot all that much, and she's going to be out physical here, strength-wise. Irina Alekseeva, and that's kind of been Claudia's big thing, is the strength and grappling exchanges, as she kind of gets overwhelmed at times. You look at the Melissa Mullins performance, for example, where she just got absolutely ragdolled until she got held down and couldn't move and kind of got pitifully stopped. Irina Alekseeva fought Melissa Mullins as well. She lost, but she didn't get finished. She actually won the first round because she dropped Melissa on her ass. Irina Alekseeva, she hits pretty hard. She kind of just walks people down and she goes, goosh, goosh. And Klaudia Segula, she's a bit more technical, but I don't think she likes to fight as much as Irina does. If that makes any sense. Like, I think Irina actually likes punching people. Klaudia Segula looks like she does this because some people around her told her that she was good. Irina has more UFC experience. She's got a longer reach, so she actually is going to be able to walk down a little bit easier. It's a bigger cage, so Klaudia might be able to backpedal a bit more, but I think Irina Alekseeva is just going to be able to... And she also has submission, like, in the back pocket. Irina Alekseeva actually won by knee bar against Stephanie Egger in a fight that she was just walking Stephanie down, and then Stephanie got a body lock, and then Irina just kind of rolled for the knee bar and got it. Klaudia, I just don't know if she has what it takes to beat Irina Alekseeva, I'll be honest. But Irina Alekseeva, lock it in. We move to Dariya Zhelezniakova versus Melissa Mullins. I'm going to go Melissa Mullins because this is actually a rematch, and Dariya already lost to Melissa in the regional scene, and she's going to lose the same exact way. Dariya Zhelezniakova's wrestling defense has always been kind of the weakest point of her game. You look at anybody that's able to get her down, i.e. Melissa Mullins, and Who it was, Eileen Perez, right? Yeah, Eileen Perez immediately finishes her. You know what I mean? She beat a lot of cans on the come up. 9-0, girl. That's actually not bad. She hasn't fought since then. She looks like my math teacher from a while back. You know, you look at the Montserrat Rendon fight with Dariya Zhelezniakova. That was close, man. That was like an actual like competitive ass fight. I think Melissa Mullins is just past that. You look at her 2 wins in the UFC, Irina Alekseeva and Klaudia Sigula. Her one loss is to Nora Cornell, who is actually pretty good at fighting. Like, she's actually like a decent WMMA prospect that we have to look out for, but we have to just be like, oh shit, she's 34. She's never going to amount to anything. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do anything in your career because you're old as shit. Melissa Mullins should win this fairly easily. She, let me look at the lazy eye there. She's going to be able to take down Dariya Zhelezniakova. Dariya's reaction time to takedowns is pretty shit. She'll like shuck off a couple of them from Eileen Perez, but you got to also remember Eileen Perez is what, 5'4"? How tall is she? She's 5'5". Melissa Mullins is 5'7", and she's actually kind of strong. She's a strong 5'7". And she's got good cardio. Dariya Zhelezniakova slows down pretty quick. So I'll go Melissa Mullins by first or second round. TKO, mostly going to be on the ground. Maybe a submission as well, but we'll see what happens. Melissa Mullins gets the win. We move to Ismail Naurdiev versus JunYong Park. I'm going to go with Ismail Naurdiev on this one. I'm going to be honest. I think he does very well against a style of JunYong Park. In this case, where Jung, you know, he's a little older now. He's 34. Ishmael's very young, considering the amount of experience he has in, you know, MMA. You know, he has 31 fucking fights. This is his 32nd professional MMA fight. And JunYong Park, I thought his fight with Brad Tavares wasn't the best performance, in my personal opinion, outside of round 2, and I think near the end of round 3. He got dropped bad in the first round. I don't think they even credited him with Brad with a knockdown, but he dropped JunYong Park with like a jab. I think JunYong Park on the feet is kind of underwhelming. I'm going to be honest with you. And I honestly think that his grappling defense is kind of shit. I think his grappling defense can get exploited. If you look back at that Andre Muniz fight, he was doing decent work on the feet. Andre was, you know, utilizing his jab decently well, but he was getting in on the legs of JunYong Park very easily, and he didn't get held down. He kind of just fought his way back up. But I think that it wears on the gas tank of JunYong Park, who kind of just plods forward. He doesn't really have the best footwork. He kind of is a stationary guy. Ismail Naurdiev is kind of all over the place, high and tight guard, blitzing in, kind of really good straight shots down the pipe, really good low kicks, and that's something JunYong Park does very well as well. It's going to be a not an open stance fight. They're both orthodox, but they're both going to be chewing the shit out of the exterior of each other's legs, and I think Ismail Naurdiev just has better low kicks when it comes to that. It's a big cage, and JunYong Park, he doesn't really fight in big cages ever. I don't know the last time that he fought in a crowded event. It wasn't Brad Tavares. Andre Muniz was in the Apex. Dariya was in the Apex. Was Tululin in the Apex? I don't think it was, because I think there was a crowd there. That was in the Apex. Was him versus Holmes in the Apex? No, that was in the Apex. When was the last time JunYong Park fought in a fucking arena? That's why he's so close to the people that it's like Eric Anders, maybe? That was in the fucking Apex. Dude, JunYong Park is a fucking Apex warrior. Gregory Rodriguez. In the Apex. Has he fought outside the Apex ever? Tufan Nachuk. No, that was in the Apex as well. What the fuck? Alright, I'm talking too much about JunYong Park. But what I'm saying is JunYong Park is a guy who needs to be close to you to have a lot of success. One of the key weapons he uses is his pressure grappling, pressure wrestling. You give Ismail Naurdiev a bigger cage to work with, to work his footwork. He's got really good footwork. He dances, he moves laterally very well. I think he's going to run circles around JunYong Park and kind of Yusuf Zalal him in a way, but way more output. Kind of getting in there, low kicking, kind of fading in and out, uppercut, right hand, left hook, kind of jabbing his way in. And JunYong Park's going to be getting desperate, using his jab, kind of trying to waltz his way in. He's going to be getting lit up. I think JunYong Park, like I said, his defensive grappling isn't that great. I think Ismail Naurdiev, honestly, could utilize some of his own offensive grappling. We saw that in the Bruno Silva fight, that he was actually able to take him down at times. And Ismail Naurdiev's got decent reaction takedowns. He's got good hips. I think he beats JunYong Park in a very competitive fight. I think it'll be 29-28. I think JunYong Park, if he isn't able to get people down consistently, it's always going to be a very close fight with him. I don't think Ismail Naurdiev is a guy he can get down consistently, and I think we're going to have another close JunYong Park outing, but I think Ismail Naurdiev is going to have way more output on the feet. So I'll go Ismail Naurdiev over JunYong Park. I think he's got better cardio. We move to the featured prelim. SeokHyeon versus Oban Elliott. I'm going to go with Oban Elliott on this one. I think he's a better fighter than SeokHyeon. I think he has a lot more weapons to use. SeokHyeon, watching some of his fights, he literally just spams left hands over and over and over again. He's got some decent sambo in his tool belt. He won a sambo tournament before his professional career. He's got decent throws and shit, but outside of that, on the feet, very rudimentary. And even then, in a matchup against Oban Elliott, his grappling is not going to be as effective as he'd like it to be. He actually got a contract mostly due to his grappling over Igor Cavalcanti. Oban Elliott's got great takedown defense. He shoved off Preston Parsons literally every single time he was at his waist. And Oban's striking has rapidly improved since even the Val Woodburn fight, when he's getting rocked with a head kick. He's actually fucking looking really fluent on the feet now. You look at the Basil Hafez fight, poking at the knee. It's going to be an open stance fight, so their rear side kicks are going to be very dangerous in this matchup. I like Oban Elliott in this matchup way more than SeokHyeon. I think Oban Elliott's got decent power. SeokHyeon does have a lot of power in his left hand. You look at a lot of his knockouts, they're all fucking straight lefts down the pipe, kind of cracking his opponent and, leaving them senseless. But Oban Elliott, like I said, more tools in the tool belt, deep kicks to the body, prodding at the kneecap with a little push kick. I think Oban Elliott's really good. If you watch my prospects video, I had him at number 4 or something. I think Oban Elliott's got a lot of ways to become a big star in the UFC. I like his tools on the feet. He's got grappling in his back pocket as well. If you look back at that Val Woodburn performance, very good back taker, good at controlling people against the cage. He's very strong, very fluid on the feet, and he's a good counter striker, and I really like that against a guy like SeokHyeon, who kind of rushes into everything that he does. Oban Elliott peppering the jab, kind of keeping Matt Bay crashing in with a right hand when he needs to. So I'll go Oban Elliott. He can knock out SeokHyeon. I think both of SeokHyeon's losses, are they both KOs? Are they? They are. He lost a KO by Han Sol Kim, who lost on the road to UFC, I remember. Got knocked out pretty bad. And then he got knocked out in one of his first, Sasha Politnikov, who had that weird eye poke thing with Phil Hawes recently and on that Dirty Boxing or whatever it is. But I go Oban Elliott. I think he can knock out SeokHyeon. He's got decent power, decent technique on the feet as well. SeokHyeon kind of just like a left-hand spammer, like I said. Oban Elliott, second round KO. I think SeokHyeon will get some stuff going in the first, but in the second round, get desperate, rush into a right hand, get knocked out. It is what it is. We move to We move to the start of the main card. Mohammed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. I'm going to go with Mohammed Naimov on this one. Or Naimov. I fucking forget. Who cares? I don't think Bogdan Grad is all that good. I don't think I'm the first person to say that. I think his style doesn't work well going against a dude like Mohammed Naimov. Especially in a bigger octagon. Bogdan Grad had a really awkward performance against Lucas Alexander, and I'm bringing that up. Lucas Alexander is just a kickboxer. That's really all he does well in his career ever is just kickboxing. By the way, Lucas Alexander got knocked out in the first round by Jeka Saragi. Yeah, the guy that Sang Yu. Is it Ju Sang Yu? Knocked out at 316. Flatlined him, yeah. Bogdan Grad beat a guy that lost to that dude. So, very good win there, pal. I think he got out-grappled in the first round by Lucas Alexander. That's terrible. And Lucas Alexander is one of those dudes on that card who had, he was dying because of new paint installation in the back. So he gassed out like a motherfucker. Bogdan Grad is not going to be able to do that to Muhammad Naimov. If he does, I don't know what, maybe he's fucking championship caliber, but Muhammad Naimov has beaten way better people in the UFC, in my personal opinion. He knocked out Jamie Malarkey. He had a really weird fight with Eric Silva where he was going to beat Eric Silva anyways, but Eric Silva ended up tearing his knee. He beat Nathaniel Wood. People call that a robbery. It was not a robbery. He clearly won the first 2 rounds, in my personal opinion, very easily. Dropped him in the first round and then did more in the second. I like that win. Even though he had to cheat a shit ton to win that fight, he can cheat a shit ton against Bogdan Grad too. It's gonna be it's his home turf again. And Con Offley, you look at that fight, he just does way better than Con Offley. And Con Offley's like a decent technical striker, this, that, and the other, and he kind of just did more than him. Bogdan Grad is a dumbass. He's just gonna run at Muhammad Naimov like a moron and end up getting caught. You look back at the Tom Nolan performance that he had on the Contender Series not too long ago, he got knocked the fuck out because he ran in like a moron. Really, if he isn't able to apply pressure consistently and just kind of swarm people and be able to take them down and maul them and get to his better position, swarm them on the feet, dude, he probably should have lost to Michael Aswell on the Contender Series. He probably should have lost that fight, but he didn't because it looks like he's throwing harder. You're going against a guy like Muhammad Naimov who doesn't slow down as much as you, whose only loss in the UFC is to Felipe Lima. By the way, Felipe Lima-Peyton Talbot is a crazy-ass fight. I can't wait to watch that. Anyways, who is a lighter man skill fighter who is very fast, very good. Bogdan Grad's slower. He's a moron. He swings from his hips. Muhammad Naimov's going to be able to plant one on his kisser. I think Muhammad Naimov finishes Bogdan Grad in the first or second round via Bogdan Grad being a moron and kind of just rushing at him. Maybe Muhammad is able... Does Muhammad have any submission ability? I don't think he does. Does he have any submission wins? He's got 3, but when was the last time he got a submission? You know what I mean? Get an arm triangle over a 5 and 6 opponent. Yeah. And his only losses, to be fair, Muhammad Naimov, are all very, they're undefeated. Oliver Murad, who's 4-0. And then Colin Anglin, which is not a great loss at all. That was a dude, I remember he got beat up by Sean Woodson, I believe. Yeah, he got beat the fuck up by Sean Woodson. But that was when Colin was, 7-1. He's a big, I'm pretty sure that's featherweight, yeah. Featherweight, and then Oliver Murad is featherweight as well. I just think that Muhammad Naimov has way better experience in the UFC, considering every opponent that he's faced. And then Nathaniel Wood win is aging like wine every single time that Nathaniel steps out there. Ever since that fight, has Nathaniel lost since losing to Muhammad? I don't think has he. No, Daniel Pineda and then the Morgan Charriere win, and before that he was on a 3-fight win streak. I think Muhammad Naimov is just way better than Bogdan Grad. If he loses this, Bogdan's the fucking champ in waiting, I guess. But I'll go Muhammad Naimov. We move to Nazim Sadykov versus Nikolas Motta. I'm going to go with Nazim Sadykov on this one. I just think, again, kind of the same thinking with my last pick. He's just a far superior striker than Nikolas Motta and just a better fighter. Nazim Sadykov, I will admit, has a very weird career in the UFC so far. 2 of his wins are doctor stoppages over Ismail Bonfim and Evan Elder. And to be fair, he was losing to Evan Elder. Evan Elder's way better than Nikolas Motta. Let's keep it a fucking buck. And Ismail Bonfim is way better than Nikolas Motta. Nikolas Motta is a power puncher's dream. Literally all he has is a big meaty overhand. That's about it. You look at every other good fighter that he's fought, Manuel Torres and Jim Miller, they're knocking his shit out, son. And he was losing to Trey Ogden. He was getting fucked up by Trey Ogden. You look at his 3 wins, Cameron Van Camp is shit. Big for nothing. Tom Nolan, that was a fluke, all right? That was just a fluke. The Mahashate fight, listen, great performance. He's getting outdone, just lands a big bomb. And I will concur, Nazim Sadykov does have a suspect chin. He got dropped really bad by Evan Elder and got he was getting just way outdone by Vyacheslav Borshev. But Nikolas Motta doesn't have that output, dude. He just doesn't. At the end of the day, Nikolas Motta is just a big, heavy puncher, doesn't really throw a lot. He gets hit a lot as well. Nazim Sadykov is a far superior striker than he is. I mean, let me look at these Mahashate numbers. From what they're going to be a little inflated for Nikolas because he dropped him like 4 times. And even with, he knocked him down 3 times. He knocked him down every round. I remember it very vividly. He's still slightly, and Mahashate's a big kid, to be fair. But even in round 2, Mahashate's numbers are close. Round 3, he's only down 10 total strikes. Round 1, he's down 16, but that's because he got dropped like midway through the round. Nikolas Motta is he needs to hit he needs to land flush to really get anything going. If you just kind of let him play it, if you use your range, which in this fight Nazim really can't use, but he's a way quicker striker than Nikolas Motta and a better grappler at that. And that's another thing. Nikolas Motta's defensive grappling is just shit. It is just disgustingly bad. And I think Nazim Sadykov, even though he's a striker first, he trains, he's an Azerbaijani. I imagine that he's got some grappling in the back of his tool belt. Maybe he'll be able to utilize it. See, that's what he needs to do against Nikolas Motta. I think Nazim Sadykov game plans pretty well. He also just does damage. Dude, he does a crazy amount of damage when he's able to, when he does crazy damage. You look at the Ismail Bonfim fight, close that dude's eye with 1 kick. Evan Elder cut him open horrifically bad. Vyacheslav Borshev, that fight was a draw. I mean, he won 2 of the rounds. It's just that, no, he won 1 of them. He got a 10-8, but then Vyacheslav won 1 and 3. Nikolas just doesn't have that technique and output. That's really it. He just doesn't have the technique and output to beat Nazim Sadykov. I don't think Nazim Sadykov is even really that good. Actually, yeah, Nazim's a good grappler. He submitted Terrence McKinney. I totally forgot about that. He submitted Terrence. And Terrence McKinney isn't no slouch on the ground. He's a very good wrestler. And Nazim Sadykov was actually able to capitalize on that very well using his own grappling. He should be able to even submit Nikolas Motta in this fight or knock him out. So I think Nazim Sadykov by finish either way is a good pick. Nikolas Motta, he's just kind of a jobber in the UFC, you know what I mean? You're losing to Jim Miller, step it up a little bit. You're on the same level as Eric Gonzalez at that point, which, by the way, Eric Gonzalez, mentioning him, he was the first ever fighter to ever interact with me. So, big up to the Ghost Pepper MMA. So, Nazim Sadykov should win. We move to Tofiq Musayev versus Myktybek Oralbai. I'm going to go with Myktybek Oralbai on this one. Tofiq Musayev, be honest with you, from what I watched, he's got a lot of power. To be fair, he's got 18 KOs. He doesn't fucking throw like anything, though. His output is so unbelievably low. Looking at his fights, it's fucking crazy. He doesn't really throw much if you're going against somebody who knows how to manage range very well. Like the Alexander Chablis fight, where he basically quit because he got hit in the body. And he's been subbed 3 times in his career. He has 3 submission losses. Roberto de Souza submitting him in the first round very early. He's getting subbed earlier in his career. I think Myktybek Oralbai is going to have a crazy strength advantage when it comes to this fight. I think it's going to look a lot like the Elves Brenner fight, where on the feet, Tofiq's got some decent technique. He just doesn't throw a lot. But Myktybek's kind of pressing the fight towards him, so Tofiq's forced to throw. And then Myktybek's mixing in the grappling, getting to his back, kind of taking him down. I think Myktybek finds a submission here, if I'm being totally honest with you. And I think Myktybek's got enough grit and heart to make this a dirty fight and be able to outlast Tofiq Musayev. You look at a fight like the Mateusz Rombetsky fight, where in that 3rd round, he is getting absolutely battered. And then he turns it around and ends up winning like the last 2 minutes of that fucking round, just out of sheer grit and authority. Myktybek's got a weird chin. We've seen Mateusz knock him down. We've seen Uros Medic almost finish him in the first round. Elves Brenner kind of had him. He didn't have him hurt. He landed some decent shots on Myktybek, though. I just think Myktybek Oralbai he'll be able to get to his grappling keys a lot better than Tofiq Musayev will on the feet. Myktybek on the ground is a monster. He's so big and so strong for everybody that it kind of just drags him around. Tofiq Musayev already having 3 submission losses on his career. I think it'll be not an easy night at the office. I think it'll be an underwhelming performance for what people think Tofiq Musayev represents as a great signing by the UFC. I think this is another guy that they just waited too long to sign. He's 35 years old. I don't know what it is with the UFC signing guys when they're out of their primes. But I think Myktybek Oralbai will handle this with a submission in the first round very handedly. We move to the featured fight. Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. Rizvan, I've broken this fight down already, I feel like 4 times, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think Curtis Blaydes is just better. I'm picking Curtis Blaydes. Rizvan Kuniev is getting a way too big of a jump up in competition from... Who the fuck did he even beat on the Contender Series? Who did he even beat? It was some fat American guy, wasn't it? Hugo Cunha. It was some Brazilian dude who actually went on to lose another fight after this in the LFA to Denzel Freeman. 5-6-1, 6'2", 77.5-inch reach. Luke Fox. I think Curtis Blaydes has just fought way better competition, man. You know, he's not going to lose to a Rizvan Kuniev. Curtis Blaydes only loses to really big power punchers or actually good fighters. Rizvan Kuniev, he's a blob, man. He needs to work in the clinch and get takedowns. And to be fair to Curtis, his takedown defense isn't great. But is Rizvan like a Jailton Almeida even? No, he's not athletic whatsoever. There's no athletic bone in his fucking body. Look at him. He's fat as fuck, dude. He's so huge. I think Curtis Blaydes should win this handedly. Who did Rizvan Kuniev lose to in his career? Who has he lost to? Justin Willis. That's not a bad loss, to be fair. Is this the guy that I think it is? Man, he hasn't fought since losing to Curtis Blaydes. Actually, a Curtis Blaydes victim. Yeah, this is the guy. It's Big Baby, right? Or Big Pretty. And then Darko Stozic. Was this guy ever in the UFC? I think he was, right? Yeah, he did terrible, though. This guy lost to Shamil Gaziev. This guy lost to a Shamil Gaziev victim. This dude he beat Jeremy Kimball, who is, he's a inbred-looking fuck. I know him because I see him on the UFC website all the time, yeah. I mean, the guy lost to Jamal Hill, to be fair, and Kennedy Nzechukwu and Devin Clark, so it's not even that bad. But Curtis Blaydes is just better. He's got better boxing than Rizvan Kuniev. Rizvan Kuniev really is just a plodster, and Curtis Blaydes is the biggest plodster. Rizvan's a bigger plodster than he is. He literally just wades in and out of range, waiting for you to kind of back up so he can be like, and then just land big knees and big old meaty hooks and elbows and search for double legs and this and that. Curtis Blaydes is a far superior striker. You look at the, what's the big Dawkins? Chris Dawkins fight. You look at, just people like Jailton Almeida even be able to finish him. That's crazy. Jailton literally ragdolls everybody else that he's fought ever in his career. Curtis beat him. This matchup makes no sense, man. He beat Chris Dawkins. He beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He beats Volkov. He beats JDS. You know what I mean? He only loses to Ngannou twice, Derek Lewis via a fluky uppercut, Sergey Pavlovich, and then Tom Aspinall. Rizvan is none of those guys at all. He's fucking ass. He's so bad. He's not good at all. He's making his debut. They both have had fucking a year to prepare essentially for this fucking fight. I think Curtis Blaydes is better I think he's got better striking. He's a good wrestler. His defensive wrestling isn't that great, to be fair, but Rizvan Kuniev is such a fucking slob and fat fuck that I think Curtis Blaydes is going to be able to pepper him at range. He's got a really long reach, and that's really what people struggle with it all the time. Tom Aspinall has talked about it. He was like, yeah, he's hitting me from so far away because he's got those really long fucking arms. Rizvan Kuniev probably has like fucking 30-inch arms. It's just he's wide as shit. Look at him! This guy's not... If he beats Curtis Blaydes, I'm not watching the UFC anymore. This fat fuck. If he wins, I quit. He's a steroid abuser as well. He's so fucking fat. I hate him. Curtis, kill him, please. We move to the co-main event. Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. I'm going to go with Ignacio. I know it's kind of tradition for me to be picking the new guard when it comes to these matchups. I think I've done it most, if not, like my entire picking career. I genuinely think that this matchup is crazy interesting, though. I think the size advantage for Ignacio Bahamondes is going to be fucking insane in the cage. Because here's my way of thinking about it. Last weekend at welterweight, we saw Phil Rowe fight Ange Loosa, right? And Phil Rowe's another 6'3" fighter. Dude, Ange Loosa's 5'10", and that height difference was fucking nuts. Now you got Rafael, who's 5'8". He's going to struggle to find his range so fucking hard in this matchup. He was struggling against Justin Gaethje in round 1 and midway through round 2. Ignacio, while he isn't the fastest guy, I'll be honest with you, I think his speed is probably one of his biggest weaknesses because he is so tall and lanky, except his kicks. His kicks are kind of really quick. Rafael Fiziev, though, might be able to dodge him. I genuinely think Rafael Fiziev is going to find it impossible to find his range in the first round. I think Ignacio, while slow, he's going to be able to pepper away a little bit. It's a big octagon, so Ignacio's footwork is going to really come to play here. I don't even really think Ignacio Bahamondes is that crazy good. I mean, you look at a matchup like Ludovit Klein, he kind of got worked there, and Ludovit's actually 5'7". Ludovit's fought taller dudes before. The tallest person Rafael Fiziev has ever fought was 6 foot. And he won the fight by unanimous decision, but that was all the way back in like 2019. You know, and ever since then he's been fighting 5'8", 5'10", 5'11", 5'9", a lot of 5'10s in there, Bobby Green, Justin Gaethje twice, RDA's 5'8". I think the sheer size of Ignacio Bahamondes and the power that comes with his kicking game and just the overall weaknesses that Rafael Fiziev has where his cardio isn't the best. His power is overrated. I don't think Rafael Fiziev even really hits that hard. And Ignacio's got a hell of a chin on him. You just look at these matchups, I think that Ignacio might go bad for Rafael Fiziev. Ignacio, he's putting out Manuel Torres, who also lunges in a way worse than Rafael Fiziev, don't get me wrong. But he's got that danger to him. And Ignacio was able to take those punches. Rafael's a very technical fighter. He's not even going to be able to work where he works best, in the clinch. He's not even going to be able to land those tie knees and elbows that he loves to land on people. He's not going to be able to press forward and put Ignacio against the fence, land those brutal body kicks. He's going to be whiffing at range, forced to rush in moments that he shouldn't be rushing in, become desperate. Ignacio is going to be able to land the jab. Rafael's going to slip off to the side. If Ignacio is able to pick up on those reads of where Rafael slips off, that head kick's coming up, baby. And Rafael, he doesn't have really that takedown threat that everyone, that if he did have, he'd be one of the best fighters in the division, I swear to God. Right? If Rafael Fiziev had better cardio and a takedown threat, he'd be unstoppable, essentially. But he doesn't. And at the end of the day, he just doesn't have that takedown threat. And Ignacio, even if he does have the takedown threat, 86% takedown defense. Ignacio lands 7 significant strikes per minute on people. He only absorbs 4, which, to be fair, is kind of a lot. But Rafael Fiziev, he's got great head movement for how long? He slows down pretty quick. He's such a big ball of muscle, so much lactic acid buildup happens that he short circuits really early into fights. I think Ignacio Bahamondes, I think his size is going to be too much. I think he's too... And the thing is, he's not just like a big oaf either with his height. He's a very technical striker at that. Like, he gets out, his speed disadvantage, helps him not at all. Ludovit Klein was able to capitalize on that a lot. And we saw how Ludovit Klein matched up against the top 15, against Gamrot. But that's just a stylistic matchup difference. I think Ludovit Klein would have a close fight with Rafael Fiziev. Just because it's a striker's delight. I think Ignacio Bahamondes is too good of a striker and too big for Rafael Fiziev, where Rafael's going to have the striking advantage. It's just he's not going to be able to utilize his best weapons. And without his best weapons, he's just kind of a big old meaty hook. kind of spammer and kind of spams body kicks, and I don't like that for him. So I'll go Ignacio Bahamondes across the distance over Rafael Fiziev. I think he'll win at least 2 rounds, 29-28 at least. I'll go 30-27 though. We move to the main event, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. I'm going to pick the underdog. I'm going to pick Jamal Hill by KO. This fight, it is tricky. It is tricky to kind of come up with something, to pick in this fight, because this is another fight that I really am worried about Jamal Hill's footwork really affecting him. Because Khalil Rountree, the reason why he wasn't even really able to land anything big on Alekseeva was because of his footwork. You look back at the fight, Alekseeva was moving backwards very good. Jamal Hill doesn't move backwards like at all. He kind of just like plods there, stays there, and kind of tries to move off the center line. Khalil Rountree just kind of explodes into everything that he does. But then I remembered that Jamal Hill, he does move his head decently well. The only time that you're going to really catch Jamal Hill is with counter-striking. And Khalil Rountree, for what it's worth, doesn't really counter-strike at all. The only thing he really does is launch a really huge overhand, or he'll kind of like try and throw to the body. He doesn't really do like what Yuri did, where he kind of shuffled away and threw the left hand, caught him, and then did the same thing where he leaned back, left hook, right hand, you know what I mean? Or Alekseeva advancing, slipping off the center line, left hook, knocks him out. Khalil Rountree doesn't really counter-strike all that well. What he does really well is the explosiveness that he has, the explosivity that he has, and rallying those combinations where he's landing with the side of the glove, kind of landing on the side of the head, where he's throwing hooks, throwing those straight punches in unison when someone's backing up, kind of forcing them back. And then I'm looking at that and I'm like, if that's all he's really going to have for Jamal Hill, I think the same thing's going to happen again, where he slows down midway through this fight and Jamal Hill is able to rally again, kind of like round 2 against Yuri, when Yuri started to slow down on his output, not throw as much, and win the rounds. And when Khalil Rountree slows down, man, he really, the only time that I think I remember him really having success later on in a fight was Anthony Smith, and that's because, of course, he TKO'd him in round 3. Those were competitive exchanges and moments, though. You know what I mean? I think Jamal Hill would have wiped the floor with Anthony Smith, if I'm being honest. Chris Daukaus, very quick KO. Carl Roberson, early as well. Modestas Bukauskas, kind of closer first round, and then kind of just stomped on the knee. Carl Roberson, I think the first round was kind of competitive there, and then round 2, Khalil just kind of blitzed him and dropped him and then was able to find the finish. Dustin Jacoby was just a robbery. You know what I mean? It literally was just a robbery. I'm looking at this fight. Khalil Rountree, again, is going to give up height. He's going to give up size. He's going to give up weight. He's going to have the speed, but like Jamal Hill, he's kind of quick on his own. And he's, again, a top 5 level fighter. And Khalil Rountree, albeit I think he's very high level. I think he's definitely one of the better guys in the division. The Alekseeva performance isn't enough for me to consistently think that he does that well every single time when he gets in there. That Alekseeva fight was that was a performance of a lifetime for him in those first 2 rounds. And even then, I think the first round's very close. He wins the second because of the missed question mark kick into Rock. And then round 3, he gassed out, started getting pieced up. Jamal Hill isn't going to piece up Khalil Rountree like Alekseeva did. He just doesn't do that. But you look at a fight like Thiago Santos, where Jamal Hill thugged it out and kind of weathered the storm and was able to pick him apart as the fight went on, just because Thiago gassed out and he was able to kind of drag him around and get the TKO. I think we're going to get something like that. Khalil Rountree isn't as dangerous as everyone thinks he is, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be able to. He can knock out Jamal Hill just because Jamal's style is so open that he can just get KO'd by anybody if they're able to land on him, just because his footwork is that bad, and, he doesn't... The counter-striking ability on him is very, very high, but Khalil Rountree's counter-striking ability doesn't really speak to me as much as, like, an Alekseeva does, as much as a Yuri does. And even then, Yuri looked like a fucking... He looked levels above what he usually does in that Jamal Hill fight, and Jamal Hill still won a round on that Yuri Prohaska. So, Jamal Hill, you look at a fight like Glover Teixeira where he absolutely murdered him across 5 rounds. Jamal Hill's got good cardio, when he's not overexerting himself. Khalil Rountree is not a guy that Jamal Hill's going to be overexerting himself. Khalil Rountree's output isn't even that high to begin with. He's kind of just like one explosion, kind of waiting for a throw, kind of explosion again, maybe a huge overhand front kick. He's just one of those guys, and maybe he can counter-strike off of Jamal Hill's slower kicks, but even on that, I think Jamal Hill's kind of dangerous in those weird, chaotic explosions where he kind of can land something in the clinch, grabbing the scruff of the neck, uppercutting in those moments. I just think that Jamal Hill can have more success across the distance. And also, I think Khalil Rountree, again, is going to be faced with a task where he's dealing with someone who's so out of range from him that he's kind of just struggling to land his best shots on them. Because Jamal Hill doesn't have the athletic ability to, like, miss a question mark kick and then get hurt. You know what I mean? If you're going to hurt Jamal Hill, it's going to be, a huge shot, not even on the temple. It's just going to kind of be on the chin, flush. But I think Jamal Hill moves his head decently well off the center line when somebody's coming at him first, but when he's throwing first and getting countered, that's where the struggle really begins for him. But again, like I said, Khalil Rountree just doesn't really pose that threat, in my personal opinion. He's all explosion, no counter. So I'll go Jamal Hill by a late round finish, maybe late round 3, early round, or midway through round 4. Bless myself. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I think Khalil can drop him. I think he can hurt Jamal. But Jamal's got a decent chin. Yuri has insane power. Alex has otherworldly power. Khalil Rountree, he's taking Anthony Smith to a 3rd round. You know what I mean? I think Jamal Hill can... I think he can survive. You know what I mean? I think he can outlast that. So I'll go Jamal Hill by finish. I think he'll win. I think it'll be a really fun fight, though. Man, it might suck seeing Khalil lose 2 in a row, though. We'll see. I'm UFC Thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Baku, Hill vs. Rountree Jr. on June 21st, 2025. My confident picks reside with Tagir Ulanbekov, Melissa Mullins, and the main card, Curtis Blades. My pre-card rating is a 6 out of 10. It's a decent fight night. Got some jobbers on there, but I think the main card really saves it. I think the main event is probably one of the better... Jesus, all right, dude. Fucking riding your car. All right. Bet. But I think the main event's really solid. I think a lot of the main card fights have the ability to be really good. I think Nazim Sadykov versus Nikolas Motta, even though I think Nikolas Motta is a jobber, I think that has the opportunity to be very entertaining. Like, for example, if Nikolas Motta actually drops Nazim Sadykov and is able to land those big shots, it'll be very cool. Prelims are all right. I think it'll be a decent card. But yeah, next weekend we have International Fight Week, UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira. I'll break that down for you guys next week. But I will see you guys. If you like the video, give it a like. God damn it, I messed the outro up. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. Leave a comment down below. I will see you guys after the fights. Peace.